Welcome, folks. This is day 4, the 6th video. We did a day before and 2 days before the cleanse. And this is Craig Lane with Health Alchemy. If you've followed this far, or if you're then welcome. And if you're just starting out for the first time, then you might want to go back to the beginning, at least day 1, 2 days prior, kind of lead into it. And in the playlist that this video is in, there's a description with links. And my website is healthalchemy.com. I have lots of information there. It appears for me that there was a low that I knew I needed to cleanse, and my sort of anchor lifeboat every 3 months is I know no matter how out of balance I get, it's one of my intentions for doing these every the past 15, maybe 20 years, more like 15 intensely, doing something every 3 months. There's a seasonal change anyways. This climate here, we have a sort of a semi-cool season and a semi-warm season here by the coast, and there's a wet and a dry season. But outside of that, we're not in like, if you're in Canada, then you definitely have your 4 seasons, right? Or if you're inland here, California and the mountain Sierras, and you get your 4 seasons, and then you can imagine your summer, there's a certain blood quality you need for the heat, and then the fall, there's a certain blood quality for the contracting light and the colder weather and the warm days and the cold nights, and then the wintertime where it's wet and damp and not a lot of light, and the body has to change for that. And then in the spring with the emerging light and the warmer weather with the warmer days again and the colder nights, it's the spring and the fall, like layering seasons, you might say. And so here we are in the fall with like extremely cosmically intense contraction that's just squeezing all the impurities, contaminations out of us, if we choose to let it do so. Today was another furthering of my relationship with grace, and I've been getting a daily reminder of God's presence that's running the show. And maybe we'll start off with that, but that's Nataraja in the background there. And that's Shantala out of Portland, one of my old favorite kirtan bands. Sometimes you don't really see them, so I'm going to turn them off. There we go. Distraction over. Sorry, folks. All right, so let's do a quick screen share, and we'll show you the froggy as I tell you the frog story. Screen share. And off to froggy. So this is the frog. I took a picture of it the day I saw it. So this is the picture of the day I saw it in 2 different views. It's actually a vertical view. It's actually hanging in the air on this leaf, but I turned it 90 degrees so you can see it on the side. So it's actually up on a leaf looking up, sort of off to the side. And it was sitting straight on the leaf. And then when I pulled the tarp off over the bike, this leaf was under the tarp, and it sort of turned its head just a little bit to the side. But for the first time seeing me, I was telling a friend that, there are dragonflies that appeared here, and a family of monarchs, at least two a day during the warm days, and up to 4 on the really warm sunny days. And and this frog, and I've been seeing ravens and crows, and I had an interaction with a squirrel the other day. It was running along the fence line. It's a little bit taller than my head, and it had a big acorn in its mouth because there's a giant oak tree, and I'm just vibing it really hard. I'm beaming into it because I'm really curious. A big fat squirrel, like it must have been the grandpappy. And you can hear them skidding around up there, yelling at each other, when they get jealous and whatnot. And I think this was he just looked at me. He stopped on the fence a little bit higher than me, and we were about this far apart, maybe 2-3 feet apart. And it, unafraid, just looks right at me and just stared into my soul, and I stared into his soul. And there was this I didn't mean him any harm. If I was hungry, I would have definitely grabbed him and killed him, ate him. But, we're not hungry for squirrels, and that's not survival. But that's just dealing with a masculine warrior archetype that lives in some people and that lives in me. I get it all, I get the beatific everything, and then the other stuff. So the squirrel just kind of saw that, and I think he was his own. I think it was a he, or it was definitely the grandma with a lot of fucking warrior, and just faced off and just walked away. Like, hey, I know you. And then this frog is part of I might read you guys at one of the, if somebody wants to, by request, I have 2 frog spirit stories in my journal from age 20 to age 40. Those 20 years was a lot of documentation of, I just call it my awakening process. I was prompted really strongly by what I thought was my quote intuitions, but I actually think they're guardian angels, and I'll call it grace now, that write this stuff down. No one's going to believe you. You're going to list the details later. And I'm just so grateful because I have a 200-page autobiography now based on those 20 years. And this frog spirit appeared twice in my life. Context is Craig moved into house. Craig learns permaculture back when I was 30, 27 years ago. Between 25 and 30, I was learning passive solar at Cabrillo. Well, excuse me, that was age 20. Age 18 to 20, I was still wanting to be an architect. So I studied passive solar. And then I got into nutrition. I started to see how important the soil health was. And I go, wow, maybe I need to study this a little more, and how to really compost my compost what I thought was my waste. And now I'm not calling poop and pee waste anymore. I'm calling it a resource. And I have an interview with Ken Foster on my YouTube channel, where you can see us talking about human manure composting, and how sick the system is to even tell you that it's going to cause problems. Of course, if you're pooping on the sidewalk and leaving it, that's not the way to do it. But properly composted poop means you don't need a sewage system, which means you don't need the government intervention, which means neighborhoods would self-regulate. And if a neighbor had a smelly yard, then they would get an intervention by the city at that point. But for the most part, people don't like bad smells, and so you just cover it over. It's really simple. Mulching is the secret to compost. You put enough anything on something smelly, no bugs. And I've been human composting here at this place now for off and on since March. So got a good 6 months under my belt. No extra flies, no extra smell, and it's wonderful. You know what you're doing. You just cover it over. So Froggy here is Craig converts a junkyard to beautiful garden. It started out in San Luis Obispo in this house. It was just unbelievable, beautiful, sloping house on a driveway. Down at the bottom, there was this junkyard with cars, and we cleaned it out. And it turned out there was a seasonal creek, and there was nothing there. And then we kind of rehabilitated the creek and planted plants. And it was like, oh my God, it was like just the start of my, lettuces and kales, and had a white sage, and it was my first white sage plant. And the frogs came back, and they were singing at night. And it was like one of the happiest few months of my life to realize I had helped restore nature, and nature was telling me through this beautiful song of 50 to 100 frogs that. And then a few weeks into that, I had a dream where I fell through this quicksand of sorts. You know how dreams are. And I fall on this sand dune, and there's this frog spirit. He's the same height as me, and it's like a frog head with a human body. I can't remember if he had amphibian hands or not. I didn't get that detail. But if I was a true shaman, I probably would have sought out those details, what direction we were facing and colors. But really, it was more of a telepathic communication. The frog, I could tell, was scanning my consciousness for intentions and whatnot. And after a while, it sort of nodded, and then I think I fell again. And there was sort of a series of falling through various dream states. And but the feeling, I learned long ago that what's most important in a dream is the feeling, the emotion, the sense, and not the particular setting or the details per se. Other people would disagree with me. But in my world, the feeling was I connected with something that was telling me, good work, you've done well. And then there was another house a few years later that we were kind of forced out of there. The landlady really didn't get it. And I was a young man, bratty, and I think that I pissed off the owner. And so when the lease was up after a year, she didn't want to renew. And I don't think we were going to get along there. Anyway, so we moved out of there, and I moved in another place, and I did the same thing. And then I had another frog spirit dream. And I might read you guys there because the details of the second one are sort of lost to me, but same kind of idea. And then I'll go fast forward to a few years ago. I was out at David Bloom's facility out here on Calabasas Road, where he's growing an acre of turmeric and a big acre of greenhouse. And he has a facility. Oh, and David Bloom's claim to fame is his book, Alcohol Can Be a Gas, and ethanol is his thing. And his last name is Blume, if you want to check him out. Alcohol Can Be a Gas, David Bloom. And I'm only mentioning this because he had a frog area in his permaculture facility. So he's well-known permaculture. I kind of grew up in my early young man, late 20s, early 30s, early 40s with seeing his work in San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly. And then he moved north to Santa Cruz and opened up this facility unbeknownst to me. And I find myself there. And he's got these poles, big, thick posts going up to the ceiling to hold up this greenhouse that's probably 100 feet tall. And then around the poles, there's these rocks, like hand-sized rocks, and then screen holding the rocks in place, and then a yellow light hanging down. And I'm like, okay, this is classic permaculture, using the resources you have. I mean, there's so many brilliant things Bloom has done at this facility. Oh my God. So he says, frog poop is very high in nitrogen, is very bioavailable, is what he was saying. So what they do is the yellow lights there to attract the bugs, and then the frogs live around the rocks, and then the excess of water drains near that rock area. So the rocks, the frogs get the water, and then they go and they get the bugs around the yellow light at night, and then they poop around the rocks, and then it spreads out slowly. And the nitrogen as the watering cycle, I think they have a sprinkler right there on the rocks, and then somehow it gets the poop where the frogs are going. And of course, the frogs aren't going to hang out by the rocks all day. They're going to go out by the plants and stuff too. So I was told in my early permaculture studies that frogs can't live in a damaged ecosystem, especially if it's too dry. That would be the realm of the toad. The toad is the dryland amphibian frog, I believe, and then the frog needs some moisture. But please correct me on the YouTube channel comment or wherever you might see this video. We're all here to learn, and I'm not super clear, but I think I remember toad was dryland, frog wetland. All right, so that's the frog story. And he appeared again today. So this is today's update. God, there's so many frog stories. So today I'm out by there's a walk down some steps and go out here. And then I'm in the studio on an upper level. And then you go down some brick steps down to a lower level. And then my e-bike's down there covered up in a tarp and locked up. And then there's the tarp gets warm during the day. So the frog lives there. And a few days ago, I had to push him off my e-bike park. So I was going on the other side of town, and I was worried he was going to be lost somewhere, and he found a home here. So I scooted him off, and then hadn't seen him for a few days. And then today I was out there. There's a big rack of herbs, probably 400 bottles deep in my apothecary, which is probably only half the total stock I've got. But just if you need herbs, man, I'm your man. So he hasn't sung at all, and it was that. It wasn't the classic frog sound. It was more the kind of like that fast, and it was coming from the herbs. So he had somehow gotten up one of the herb bottles. These are 2-quart mason jars full of herbs, and he's probably using the top of one of those bottles and just hanging out there. Everyone has the best chi, I'm sure, for him or her. And so it sung to me today. It's the first time I've been sang to by any frog here. So it was, I was down by, there's a refrigerator down there under a deck, kind of out of the rain. I was getting something out of the fridge. And then I heard that, and I just paused, for maybe 30 seconds, and the frog. This is significant to someone like me. It might not be to someone like you. So that's the frog story, and it's significant to me because it's another affirmation, if you will. I spent my life seeking validation and affirmation of freakish, subtle insights that other people just don't have or do have, and they just sort of cover them over because it's too much for the conscious mind. It's like sometimes the truth is so hard to rationalize because it's so contradictory and paradoxical. The ego just gets crushed. And this is one of them, like other people, do you value a frog singing to you? Probably not, but I don't live in the materialistic world. And much of the chagrin of some people in my family and friends is I have no money saved, I got no retirement. My cards are in the moment. And I was telling Monica on my team today, I said, I haven't invested anything in my future. I've invested in the present. and built a community around myself and part of a larger community. And that's my investment. Because if something does happen to me and I'm down and out, I know that the community will step up because I've seen what they've done for others. So the cleanse is part of that. This is part of what I'm doing here. I'm not getting paid for this. But in the long run, it brings trust and safety to others because they can see I'm a man worthy of, I wouldn't say following, but maybe using as a guidepost. I really don't like followers and leaders, but I'm called a leader and an influencer. So there you go. Yeah, I think that labels have always struck me as like, oh, you're a surfer. And no. Oh, you're all about Star Trek. No. You know, spirit is just curious. And if you just get out of your own way, it's like, oh my God. Okay, so then we'll get into some logistics of today. The frog story was one. We're going to go to the email, which is going out today. Oh, thank you, Froggy. And let's see what the email says for today. Here we go. So there's the frog spirit again. I'm doing this during the end of open office hours. I kind of extended it 5 to 7. So if you're watching this and you made it this far, then realize like, you know, there's a huge opportunity here. And I'm probably going to go on Facebook Live even for a few minutes and do a YouTube Live for a few minutes and just kind of just plug this because it's by donation and you get my ear and you'll get my heart for a few minutes. Like I loved my instructor in college's open office hours, being able to go in and, you know, just sit while they're talking to someone and then be asked in. And it's like, what an honor to have this person's ear. Some really good teachers in my life. So yeah, pushing forward in the face of internal resistance. Where do we find refuge in a world gone mad? What is a source of joy without cause? So this is actually what's going to go on the YouTube video. Today was day 7 without coffee, and the caffeine cravings have gone down because the spirit's coming through. And I went through the rocky road of yesterday's theme was comfortably numb and Pink Floyd, and realizing like, you know, caffeine's a numbing agent, and we spoke to that yesterday. And I'm maybe going to have a little video, probably show part of the Michael Pollan video on YouTube about it. You know, his process of getting off of coffee and what happens to the body when it gets off caffeine is I believe we come back to life. So I believe caffeine is a numbing agent to some degree. And there are a lot of people that would disagree with me, but I think for some of us, at least we could say chocolate and coffee, green tea, black tea, they're all poisons of sort. And they're plants of consciousness much more than say an apple. So when you play with these sort of higher grade things with side effects, the side effect of coffee is your adrenals, your bone density, and your immunity suffer, and you're also going to be drier and colder. That's the byproduct of caffeinated beverages. It's just no way to deny it. And then, you know, the nutrition you're getting out of it. Yes, there's nutrition in coffee. There's nutrition in cacao. There's nutrition in green tea, black tea, mate, nutrition in kratom. You know, some of the stimulants, even cocaine has some nutritional value if you eat the coca leaves. As I saw an Amazonian worker at a Bioneers conference 25 years ago doing so. During the middle of this talk, he's just chewing on coca leaves. And, you know, he can't get busted because he's not using cocaine. He's using the coca leaf. So I use what I call anticipation for whatnot. So, you know, feeling more means this joy without cause can come through. And, you know, where do we find refuge in a world gone mad? So what do we push forward with in the face of internal resistance? Because that's kind of been my theme. So I'm going to go off the screen share just so I can gesticulate a little bit here. So I'm going to share an Adyashanti story. It's a paraphrase, probably not completely accurate, but accurate enough as a pointer. And this is the talk was called Refuge, and it's Adyashanti. You might even see it on YouTube if you type in Adyashanti Refuge as your keywords in the search on YouTube. You might get this talk because there's a little blurb about 10 minutes long, and that's what caught my eye. So I will not go and find it for you though, because I'll give you the gist. So he's at a silent retreat. And if you've ever done a silent retreat, it means this. You go into, you could do it for a day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The longest I've ever done is 10. And that's the famous Vipassana by Goenki, Goenke, Goenki, and I would do it in North Fork here in California. So in the strictest of rules, which the Vipassana is, Adyashanti and his sort of Zen Buddhist lineage is close, is the men and women were separated in the Vipassana, which I think is kind of good for the distraction factor. So there's that, you're in separate dorms, and there's even separate, mostly everything, except the only time the men and women are together is in the satsang time, where Goenki would be talking on a video, and meal time, which was only breakfast and lunch, no dinner, just fruit and tea in the evening. So you are not allowed to journal. And allow is a kind of a strange word here, but if you enter into the austerity, this is what it is. It's really you and yourself. You can't do yoga, can't do anything outside of the program. This is the Vipassana, the most severe. No music, no journaling, no reading. Really, they discourage eating outside the time, the food they're presenting, which is vegetarian. And you had to stay within the confines of the facility. And I did my 10-day, I was still a little bit young and raw. And I tried to do yoga. I had this little rebel in me. And I find, it's a pressure cooker is what it is. And after 4 or 5 days, I was losing my mind. And that's the best thing to have happen. But, and the aches and pains. So I just kind of snuck off into the rocks and found this flat rock and was doing yoga. And then lo and behold, one of the assistants comes and finds me, and I get a lecture about, oh, you can't be doing that. And the food wasn't agreeing with me, and that wasn't agreeing with me either. It was already tough enough to, I did bring a journal, and I did bring my headphones, and I was doing a little bit of gas off with that, just kind of pressure release valve, a little bit of the pressure off. And I ended up leaving on day 6 and finishing it on my own. And that day 6 is one of the most magical days of my life. I don't know why I was prompted, but you had to talk to the advisor to get let out, and the liability and the disclaimers. So I left and drove down out of North Fork down the river. And oh my God, I think the North Fork American River. And I stopped at this prompt that you need to stop here. And I found this rock by this waterfall, and it must have laid there for hours, and went into a meditative state. And then I had a bear dream. I was a bear, and there were Indians and bears, and there were mortar and pestles, and I could see all the little indentations of the rock where the Indians had. It's obvious that there was an Indian tribe here that had used the mortar and pestle with the acorns and grinding them up. And oh my God, what's the point of all that? Oh, the austerity of silence. And so I went back on my own terms and finished the 10 days. And the funniest day out of the day 10 days was I got home to San Luis Obispo. And day 10 was my friends were going out to the downtown Higuera district, kind of the bars and the music. And oh my God, I had 9 days of, I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go out and I'm not going to talk. Didn't have a sign on me, anything. My buddy was tricking me, trying to get me to talk the whole time. And he almost got me. And then midnight came, and I kind of was passing out. So they wanted me to talk up to midnight. No, wait till I wake up in the morning. And it's the weirdest thing to talk, because I didn't want to talk, because I realized by day 6 or 7, when I had driven down and I was sort of more in my room and just being able to do yoga and following my silent schedule. So just imagine that, if you will, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, the theme of this is refuge. So why does a person like Craig have a sort of awakening God experience age 25 and then spend 14 years figuring out and experiencing, what drives a person to do something like that? That's been my lifelong question, is why do I have these thoughts and this person has these thoughts? Why do I have these feelings and this person has these other feelings over here? Why do I feel compelled to do this and someone else feels compelled to do that? I think of things that people just don't think of. How do I know that? Because I ask people, and I never thought of that. And I go, oh, that's because I'm supposed to, I guess. So facing that silence is like the great equalizer of anything that's hidden in our consciousness. Awareness is like the sky. So imagine like awareness is like the chalkboard back here, the blank canvas. And then everything you see on the screen right now is the clouds passing through awareness, if you will. That was one of my deepest insights in meditation 20 years ago was I felt this thought over here, and I felt it coming, and I felt it sort of enter what I call me, and then I was identified with it, and then I saw it pass on. And the grace of that indifference or lack of identification with the thought allowed me to question what is actually going on. And so our consciousness is non-localized. I know that because I've died, and I know that through studying near-death experiences now. Raymond Moody, Moody, Life After Life. Raymond Moody, Life After Life. That's the book about near-death experiences written by a parapsychologist. And because I had some experiences in my 20s that just blew my mind, and I did hospice training, and I read Moody's work and NDEs. NDE is a near-death experience acronym, NDE. Oh my God, what the F? And the most recent case I saw was a neurosurgeon who died of encephalitis on the operating table and left his body and was met by an angel enshrouded on a butterfly, flew him around, and he knew everything everybody was saying, and he told them after he was brought back into his body. And so the question he brought in as a doubter, he was not woo-woo. No woo-woo, this guy. These are my favorite people. They're not woo-woo, and then they have an experience they can't deny, and then they're like, their mind is mush. I mean, that's what happened to me thousands of times. The divine's like, you're still stuck over there. We're going to loosen you up a little bit. So yeah, he's on the other side, and he saw that consciousness is non-localized, and plants have a consciousness too. And I can sit here and say the things I do because I have 30 years of observation and experience, not belief, not faith, experience and gnosis, Gnosis. And you say, man, that guy's a cocky motherfucker, arrogant up there saying that. And I no. There's no cocky, there's no arrogant. You know when I'm cocky and arrogant. I'm just telling you factually, this is my experience. And what I value is based on my experience. My 21-year-old who broke his neck 36 years ago, he would not be doing the things I be doing now. That Craig 1.0 died, and I'm on, what did I tell somebody? I'm on Craig like 7 or 8.0 at this point. So, each version would not have done what the next one did. So this version of me is a little bit shocking, but astonishing is fun. Okay, so where do we find refuge? So the clue is just given to you is that radiant canvas, if you will. Things are coming forward or going backwards, however you want to orient to it. And this thing we call the earth suit that you're looking at, Craig Lane, in this case, is the coalescing of these forces, one going down in a spiral, one going up in a spiral, a centripetal force and a centrifugal force meeting. And the collision of these forces, as you see it, is Craig Lane. And so refuge is found. I just did it for 30 minutes. The goal has been to be at bed at 10. I ended up serving too much, if you will. I guess there was no too much. And then go to bed a little late. Last night was reasonably midnight. But I've been trying to get in bed at 10, get up at 6. And don't try, do, right? Well, yeah. I was just telling a new friend that, don't try, do. And then she gave me a little Yoda. And if she's watching, you know who you are. So I find refuge in silence. And there's a song, one of the lines, what's the name of that band? One of the lines is, in the silence, I believe. Why would someone sing about in the silence, I believe? Because I have a video blog about this, and it's called Awareness is the Great Digester. And you can go to my video blog playlist, and that was something else, the project over a whole year. I did a video blog about health or consciousness every week for 52 weeks, inspired by Daniel Molnar. And he did his Project 52 the year before in 2012. He did a dance video every week, and we were in men's group. And man, thank you, Daniel Molnar, for the inspiration. It was 10 years ago. Truly, truly a great, good man. Bless you, family and kids now. You might ask yourself, what's Craig drinking? All right, I'll be transparent. This cola version GT Alive has some, it shows on the label caffeine, so I'm a little concerned, but it's mainly mate and little GT Alive with some tonic herbs and yeah, still early enough sleep cycle wise to sometimes the mate really works well at 6 or 7 because there's kind of a little rise and then there's a nice down. There's like a 3-hour half-life, and then by the time it's burned off, there's a nice fatigue. So refuge then is found in the center, and the center is found by coming back. And the digestive properties of this perceptual awareness is it always comes in for the next thing. And so the Sikhs, S-I-K-H, the Sikhs have a saying that God is right there before you. Everything you see around you is God. So the moment then is the divine. And if we resist what's happening in the moment, like if you're resisting something that's happening right now, you're going to suffer. And the wider the gap of what you think it should be, and it actually is, the more you suffer. Let me repeat. We have a preference, right? I would prefer to have, well, I mean, here's Craig, King of the Universe. I would prefer to have a female partner sitting right here next to me with her arm around me, and we're engaged together talking about this. And I would prefer that we're such in sync that we can hang out all the time. And then, so that's one small example. Craig doesn't have a female partner. So what does that mean? The more I resist in this moment, that fact, the more I'm going to suffer because the reality is there isn't. So if we say, oh, I'm in pain is another good one. Somebody's in pain. And then there's a story about the pain. Like, what does it mean? And where's it going to take me? And am I going to die? I mean, that's where my mind goes. And especially as a child, oh my God, just horrendous. So we cause more suffering by the story we're telling ourselves about what might happen with what's happening right now. So the wider that gap is of the story fantasy versus the reality, that the wider that gap, the more the suffering. Abraham Hicks, they call that your vortex of creation versus where you are. And so your vortex of creation is also part of the present moment. Their way of putting it is, oh, I had such a good fortune of listening to them. Another pointer here, folks. I get so excited because there's so much truth in the world. The X-Files, the truth is out there and it's in here and it's everywhere. The kingdom of heaven is on the earth and we don't see it. And why don't they see it? Okay, so Abraham was asked, if you live in the present moment as an entity, you know, a collective, then how do you see humans out through Esther's eyes right now? This was before Jerry died, Esther's partner, Jerry and Esther Hicks. So Esther was the channel and Jerry was the business-minded, you know, he was the, I mean, they were just a perfect couple to make a lot of money and make a lot of people happy. I think that probably the making people happy was primary and the money was secondary, but they really, I mean, they really enlightened. It helped a lot of people and bless them. So they said, we see humans in past tense, P-A-S-T-T-E-N-S-E, past tense. And if you feel into that, that means the moment has moved on by the time the humans have perceived the moment and registered in the apparatus of the Earth suit. So it's like a micro split nanosecond that humans are at a time delay to reality because we have to perceive reality. And like when I was trying to learn Spanish, I had to hear what someone's saying, translate it into English, formulate what I'm going to say in English, then translate the English back into Spanish to tell them. It's like 4 fucking steps. And then I read Yogananda when he comes over from India in the 30s. I think it was the first time I was 31. And this is an autobiography of a yogi. He gives a speech and he realizes he doesn't know English. And they have him set to do a speech in front of English speakers. And he's like, calls his guru or, you know, wired, whatever he did. Guru was like, you're going to be fine. So he channels English as the story goes. And like, what? So at some point we want to be able to be in the flow of life. And some part of us knows what someone else is saying because in the the Akashic records. You know, I mean, if you haven't heard the word Akashic records, it's worth looking up. The ultimate woo-woo, AKA Akashic, SHIC, Akashic records. And it's the stored record of everything that's ever happened, everything will happen. It's like the library of God, or the divine, and the whole universe, every universe, every parallel universe, everything. It's all the story of life, you know. The Akashic records, probably translated differently by someone else, but nevertheless. All right, I'm getting back to the refuge, believe me. The thing about storytelling is you go off on a few tangents and then you bring it all back together in the end. And then the refuge is for the cleanse, because, you know, there can be some rocky roads and temptations. And we're going to talk a little bit about, tomorrow's talk will be about future person veto. I'm going to write that one down. That'll be tomorrow's talk, future self veto. Yeah, that's a good one for tomorrow. So future self veto is a really good checkpoint of accountability to us, and I can guide you through that process tomorrow. We'll do a little short version tonight. Let's see. Crazy cleanse story. Okay. I'm going to show you something that we'll scan my pictures together. I don't know that it will find it, but it's worth trying. So yesterday I had the bleeding hemorrhoid story, which was nothing less than very bizarre. That's weird. Okay, very bizarre. So we'll go in my pictures folder here. And there's no guarantee this is going to be available, but it might be in my external hard drive. I don't think it's in this computer. Yeah, and hooking, oh, I guess it is hooked up, isn't it? All righty, folks, I guess we do have this thing hooked up. External hard drive is, no, it's not plugged in. Is it? Is it not? Okay, let's see if that works. Yes, sir. All right. Or yes, ma'am, as the case may be. Okay. Pictures. Is there a pictures file here? Yeah, this might be a little bit more difficult, not worth our time. For those of you watching, it's kind of how you lose people. So we'll do a little diagram again on a screen share. Oh, it's too bad. All right, so let's come back. And let's see. Yeah, let's just do a whiteboard on this. See if just the fastest way to outline this. Okay, we're going to clear all drawings. We're going to go to a full screen. All right, so the theme was last time, you know, the body pushed something out, this clot came out of my butt. And then we're going to go through a couple of shots of the intestinal lining. So first of all, we'll draw a circle and draw the green will be, the brown will be the outer muscle layer. So we'll say this is the gut lining cross section. The next layer will be, so that's brown, that's sort of the muscle layer. Then this layer, the green layer, will be the sort of the gut lining. The red layer will be the blood, we call that the blood supply or the portal veins. Let's see if we can get all this a little bit bigger. Move that over. So just imagine you've got this gut lining and there's multiple layers. There's a muscular layer and a vascular layer. And then there's this inside layer here. Oh, no. We're going to have to reselect this guy. There we go. So we move that over now. Okay, and on that green layer, there's villi in there. So we'll do a quick scribble. A lot of my team doesn't like it when I scribble, but well. And we'll do that in, let's do that in bright blue, nice blue. So you have these, this villi here, and the whole thing's covered like that. So food is passing through and is coming through like this, and you want that strong absorptive surface, right? So what happens is we have diagrams in this in the cleansing PowerPoints too, and you could look at those, but I'm going to do this live whiteboard. So let's say you've got some mucoid plaque, and what it actually looks like, the inside lining looks more like this in the small intestine. And then we can draw a circle. We'll do a red circle. So that's a little more realistic about what the gut lining actually looks like. And then the food goes through here in the center, right in here is where the food is, in that middle area. And then this is all filled in. This is all filled in here, you know, blood supply. So that's what it's actually doing. So pretend what a diverticula then would be this closing in right here and this closing in right here. And then if we go over to blue now, see, then this closes off right here. And then we'll do in green, all this pus builds up in here. And that's what they call a diverticula. So diverticulitis is nothing more than you've got this area here that's completely inflamed around this tissue. It's all inflamed. And then the solution is to bind that and get it out, right? You want to bind this and get it out. So how do you do that? Well, let's save this. And then we can select and delete this, I believe. Yeah, there we go. So we'll redraw it again. So let's draw it again now. The inside lining's green. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this right. So this is what I spent about 5 to 10 years doing. So you got all this stuff. And so one of my teachers, I got clued in on this. One of my teachers says, you can I had a lot of diarrhea. He says, you can have diarrhea and still be constipated. And that blew my mind. I thought, you're insane. And he explained it to me, like I'm going to explain to you now, how you can have daily bowel movements and, quote, still be constipated, because I was mortified. Based on what I just told you, you can have a little pocket pinched off, and they call these all kinds of medical names and make you feel bad about it, and remove your colon and blah, blah, blah. You don't want to do that. I'm going to put it up here, and it's the ultimate medical heresy, but I'm going to be one to say it. Surgery is to be avoided unless you are going to die. That's what surgery is, to be avoided unless you're going to die. And because, why? Because the body and the life are natural healing mechanisms, and the MD oath used to be first, do no harm, which means do not use poisons. And that's not even practiced anymore. So why not try that first? And my example to all of you is not breastfed. I went over this in the other video blogs, not breastfed, antibiotics, at least hundreds of doses of antibiotics throughout my life until age 20, 21. Shitty diet, didn't eat vegetables, but the meat and the dairies, it turns out, is what saved me, because I'm a protein type. So allergy shots, 10 in each arm from age 5 to age 15 every week for 10 years. You know, so multiply 50 weeks a year times 20 shots a week. That's, oh my God, that's 1,000 shots a year times 10. So somewhere in the 5 to 10,000 shots, probably 5 milliliters in each shot. So you could add up the total volume of poison that went into Craig. Didn't help the allergies at all. So had lifelong hay fever, such bad hay fever, I'd sneeze 50 times and then have to sleep for an hour. So what is allergies? It's an autoimmune condition. What's an autoimmune condition? Leaky gut. What's leaky gut? too much cooked and shitty food, unable to rebuild itself. So what I did then, I have no more allergies. I broke my neck age 21. I had mononucleosis age 20 so bad, I almost died because my throat swelled up and I was misdiagnosed 3 times. Then I broke my neck, recovered from that, then got the mumps 4 years later at Cal Poly when I went back to school for my nutrition degree. And guess what? Misdiagnosed 3 times. And that's the last time I took a medication was age 25 at San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly in the health center. I was misdiagnosed with strep, then tonsillitis, and then they realized since it was one side, it must be the mumps. And it was like a chipmunk pouch out here. And it was the worst ear and neck pain I'd ever had. I know how I would have fixed it now, but I wish I would have known that then. And on my 3rd round of antibiotics, destroyed my gut flora. And so I haven't taken a medication of any sort in 32 years. I'm 57 now. Nothing, no painkillers. I am out. I tell people, like, I'd rather die than take any of that crap. If I was dying, maybe, but I have almost died. So the way to do this then is say we've got, let's go back to the mucoid plaque. Sorry for the rant. Actually, I'm not sorry. Okay, then you've got this brown gook. So let's say there's all this brown gook in here, this crud that's built up here. And there's some crud that built up over here. And some crud that builds up over here. And so think, okay, I eat 3 meals a day. I'm only pooping once a day. Guess where it's going? Right there. And it's also going into the portal veins back to the liver. It's depositing in this as the silt and mucus and fat and sludge biofilm in the portal veins, the thousands of them back to the liver. So the strategy is then with something like this is you use clays and a fiber. Psyllium is the tried and true. I mean, it's thousands of people used. And this is the Arise and Shine system. And that's, I think that's Dr. Richard Anderson. Great books. Clays and fiber. So he called them what did he call them? Something shake. Oh my God. So it was these psyllium clay shakes, and I've added umeboshi plums to mine now, and ginger and other herbs. And currently I'm taking the standard process zeolite product. And so you want to get this stuff in there. Okra pepsin E3, think okra slime with pepsin digestive enzymes, and E3 means vitamin E3 from pea vine juice to re-nourish the raw tissue. So we're going to get rid of our clays and fiber now. And so check this out. So you bring in the clays and the fiber. Let's put those in yellow. And so you bring in these, I'll just scribble it, I guess. So this clay and fiber, oh, it didn't turn yellow, please. There we go. So see, you put this clay and fiber in here and it binds down. And do you see how this area here in the middle, you can still poop, right? So you lay down this clay here, and then it starts to bind with this, and you end up with this, I'll put it over here, you end up with this clay and clay brown gook. And then what it starts to do is, you can see it in reverse if I do Control Z. To see it starts to remove that, and then you end up with a clean gut lining again. And so the goal is to, the clay, the okra, digestive enzymes, parasite herbs. The parasite herbs alone don't do it. And that's why the blessed thistle and all the special parasite companies that get results, they give you a complete system. So my cleanses are designed to do that. You've got something to nourish the system if you're deficient. Oh, that's another thing we need to talk about is cleansing checks. Cleanse health checks. So I'll make a schedule of some of these video blogs. So Future Self Veto, cleanse health checks. And so my crazy cleanse story comes in, you see how long these digressions are, folks? Comes in from, okay, I had a space egg alien come out of me. I had zebra stripe poops. That's from eating raw rice, by the way. If you take a quarter cup of raw rice and chew it 300 times, I'm not joking, it has to be 300 times until it's liquefied, mush in your mouth. Then you swallow that raw rice and it's like a steamroller and it binds with all that mucoid stuff we were looking at earlier. See, it binds with all that. And then what I had was these poops that, they'd be like that. And then one of them had had these stripes like this in it. And so over the years, the rice would give me a white stripe, and I'd take clay or okra pepsin, which is dark, and then it would be darker stripes. And you start to see the shape of the gut lining. And you could go into Google Images and just type in mucoid plaque and biofilm, and you'll get all kinds of weird looking stuff. So I had spaghetti noodles come out of me. Could have been dead worms. We don't know. I had space egg aliens, jellyfishes. Usually the first stage is the jellyfish candida threads, which you don't want me to talk about that tonight. Scare the living Jesus out of you. And then what came out of me, the ultimate thing that came out of me was about the size of my thumb here, a little wider. And I'll find the picture of it for you guys. It's just absolutely gross though. And I just called it my space egg alien. And when it came out, it was like I pooped, but poops don't feel like this. It felt like a clot. And I don't know what a clot feels like, but there's a long story around that. It's like, this is a foreign thing passing through me. I just knew it. So usually I fish stuff out. I know it's gross, but get the strainer out, a little scooper thingy. And then what the fuck is this? So I laid it out on this little piece of paper like this, and then took a photograph of it because people didn't believe me. It's like, Craig, I can't believe this. It's true. You're the healthiest person I know. How come you got stuff coming out of you? So the space egg alien, I believe to me, was the head of the octopus, which was the candida inside me, because for months prior, I was shedding these spaghetti noodle things, which are the tentacles. And I think it had finally gotten beaten down enough that this last piece finally let go and came out, and my consciousness changed. Literally, I had old memories and I had like 10 times more energy and all this buzz in my system. And I just couldn't believe what had just come out of me when I saw it on that piece of paper. So that's your next crazy cleanse story. There's many more of those. Maybe we'll save that little drawing there. And last but not least today, we'll go back to the 21-day example board. So I updated it. The fasting day is pretty much updated. We're on the 21-day. So today, logistically, it was let's see, today's Thursday. I made a ranch dressing. I had bought the beets and the radishes, and I've got the onions, and I'm ready to do the radish beet onion salad. But my whole day today was taken up by a new office VoIP system. I have a devotional path. So I have 2 people on my team. We talk every week now. So 6 to 8 hours of my week is just phone calls with my team. And if you include my virtual assistant, that's added up. It's up to 10 to 15. And so that's either outflow and inflow, but no financial anything. So that's a lot of relational time. But it takes up my time, but it's worth it because we're building a community. My lamb liver today was absolutely delicious. I bought from US Wellness Meats. I took a gamble. Lamb's a strong, venison type of flavor usually. But this lamb liver, I've had water buffalo liver, beef liver, chicken liver now. And this is by far the most tenderest liver I've had. I'm just so impressed. I did my recipe favorites. If you're in the cleanse, you get access to it. There are recipes on the website, folks, for free. Under the home tab, you can just scroll down to community, and then you'll see recipes. There's about 8, 9, 10 recipes for free in there. If you have a request, we can put one up and take another one off. But the teriyaki is the good liver marinade. If you want to do a simple one, soy sauce and mustard is a great liver marinade. You got a little extra, you got a little lemon and a little extra salt. And boy, that is wonderful. And the salt is Celtic sea salt, no other salt. There are a few other good ones, but just get the Celtic sea salt from the Grain and Salt Society, which I believe is now Selena. Selena naturally. So lamb liver, just a few pieces today. I hadn't eaten much and I didn't have time to eat because of these phone calls. And I had to get the rep from the VoIP system on at noon after a morning of phone calls. Oh shit, so just threw in a couple pieces of lamb liver and like, oh, this is actually good, like starting to evolve into this liver thing. And then I had a green juice I made yesterday with fresh garden herbs and kind of sipped on that. And then I don't think I ate till 1 or 2, even 3 today. And that was a raw tuna roll with the leftover this. I had leftover hard-boiled egg and pesto, mostly raw, hard-boiled eggs cooked, and then these greens. And that'll be dinner time, 7:45. I'm kind of running out of time here. But there's like every day there's a big project. So tomorrow the big project is I'm just working all day, and then the community dinner tomorrow night. So the video blog tomorrow night will be the community dinner talk. So tune into that. That'll be on the community dinner playlist and this current video blog playlist. So it'll be the same talk. If you have any requests, you can contact me through the website if you don't know me. Love to help you out. So tomorrow, here we go. Flax chia crackers is not going to happen, but I'm going to make some chia cakes. Radish, beet, onion salad. They all have the same apple base, and apples are coming out my rear end right now. There's so many, and a lot of lemons have come in. So that's 2 of the ingredients. And then I have olive oil. And then I have the radish tops with these. Are such fresh radishes that the radish tops will go in the radish salad with it. So 100% raw is the goal tomorrow. I have a few hard-boiled eggs I might eat up, but really enjoying this 99% raw. So that's the 21-day cleanse. And I also updated the typical day with more stuff, what a typical day for me might look like on this cleanse. And, feel free to take this file, make a copy, and then save it on your own computer. And you can erase all this and have your own little, get your planner out, And then in the cleanse network, there's all kinds of cleanse support documents. So there's a lot of tools for you guys. And there's a few, see, there's the example cleanse. And there should be interesting, not on here. Let's see. There's a couple of charts. Maybe it's in the specific cleanse folders. So this is your online cleanse right here. Cleanse checkoff list, lung cleanse. So check this out, folks. I'm not using that for this cleanse, but some of you might like this format here. You could also download this and print it off and put it on your fridge. So you would customize over here. So what I have is, see, sort of my overalls, and you can add more, but SP cleanses in every cleanse. Live green juices are always part of cleanse. Cruciferous veggies, yes, usually. Bitter greens, yes. Herbal liver tea. Liver supplements, which in this case are my B vitamins. Radish, garlic, onion, good for drainage. Beet kvass, raw beet. So you see, like this right here on the left side, a few of you ladies that are doing this cleanse, one of you I'm seeing tomorrow. I did this, got all this back up for you because I had all this built now. It just needed to get back and cleaned up. So I think this could be very helpful, this cleansing chart right here. And finally, well, is there anything else I was going to go over? Oh, yes. So finally, if you're not too overwhelmed, then one of the markers that we see improving, if you look on the website testimonials at the bottom of the fall cleanse page, are I want to see improvement here. So no fatigue and energy. So you use life force to clean up. And if you don't have life force, you can't detox and clean up. We all know that because we don't want to clean when we're tired. Our cells are no different. So that's going to be a topic, is how do you measure vitality and quantify it enough so you know beyond a reasonable doubt, because one of my members of my team can't really cleanse. So her cleanse is the same as mine right now. I'm on that borderline, dancing on that edge of semi, I don't even want to name it, so we'll just say semi out of balance. Because, words are powerful. Be careful with the words you use. I'm working on that. So my energy has been okay, especially eating the raw liver, but my cleanse is to take a nap. And I told her the same thing. And she really took me to heart, and she doesn't show up as much for my events. And I mean, she's on my team, but I love that, she's taking care of herself. How could you? And another member of my team dropped out of the Wednesday calls for a while because she just needs a boundary to take care of herself. And, you can't get mad at somebody because that restores the log for the fire to burn. Rest is it, folks. You don't have to sleep either. If you can lay down and get a relaxed state for even 10 or 15 minutes, you're ahead of the game. You've restored enough. Appetite, food, water, sex, intimacy, community. There are some non-sexually based people, so you can't say an appetite for sex is a should. But if you're not craving intimacy and community of some sort, and your appetite for food, water, you say interactions is all out, then it's not a good sign. And so there's a longer write up here for each of these. Deep and good sleep. Does it matter how long you sleep if 4 hours restores you? See, how do you feel when you wake up? That's my most important question. If you want to go back to sleep, then you got to sleep longer. And I've set my life up to be able to do that for the most part. It's like, I got to sleep a few more hours. I'm not done with my sleep cycle. Memory and concentration, very important parameter of good health. Good humor. I'll just read Osawa's quote here. A man of good health is free from anger, fear, or suffering, and is cheerful and pleasant under all circumstances. The more difficulties and enemies he has, the more happy, brave, and enthusiastic he becomes. You can't fake this stuff, folks. Most of us are working on triggers and reactions. And what he's talking about is when the triggers and reactions and the layers of the propaganda and the conditioning have sort of fallen away, or if you're lucky enough to not have them, then this natural state, this refuge that, see, I didn't forget about the refuge. This humor emerges out of this place that's coming through us. Clarity in thinking and doing. So discernment, see right here. The fire of light. If this room was dark, you wouldn't see me. And then finally, the last is natural gratitude and appreciation, not contrived. Natural gratitude and appreciation. And so we're going to end tonight on the punchline. That's in my Foundations of Health manual. And if you would like a gander at that, then join the Wednesday morning calls. Very good. There's a little bit of red-veined kratom in there, the Mengda variety, M-A-E-N-G-D-A, Mengda. That was the one that, like, talk about refuge. Oh my God. My earth suit was in a severely depressed state 6 years ago. And I had bottomed out. I mean, I did the Landmark Forum, and thank you. You know who you are. They got me to do it. That helped. I didn't like it. I didn't like the forum at all, but my challenge was to sit through all the triggers for 3 days. And, if you've ever done the forum, you understand. I probably got triggered 100 times. It's like, oh, I just want to, no, just take a breath. And that was really good for me. Still depressed though. And then I was like looking around like, okay, I need to get an herb or something natural antidepressant. And I'm using caffeine, and yerba mate call it antidepressant. And caffeine does lift the spirit, but then you don't feel your body. So I'm like, I'm going to try something. So my old teacher was Michael Tierra in herbal medicine, T-I-E-R-R-A, probably a pen name, but I never asked him the direct question what his real name is. Maybe it is his real name. I don't know. Michael Tierra. So, Tierra meaning earth, and he's an herbalist. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Wow. If that is your real name, then, it's like a farmer being, last name of Campos, I guess, or Campesino in Spanish, like my last name is Farmer. Okay, great. So he had an article, a blog, I must have seen it 5 or 6 years ago on his blog, and he had created a blog about it. And I had done it for recreational use, and I didn't think anything of it at all, but I didn't know anything. So I'm like, I read his blog. It was 6 pages, well-referenced, good sources. And I was like, and he was talking about it for pain relief and mood elevation, but there's different varieties of it. So I realized, like, I'm going to have to try out a few here. So he had a variety there that at his community clinics, we'll just call it, in Felton, and I took a little bit home at his recommendation and tried a little bit, and it worked pretty good. But it wasn't until I went out and bought this green veined Meng Da. What I just took tonight was the red veined Meng Da. So this green veined Meng Da, I took a teaspoon, which is about 3 grams, a little bit of water, drank it down, and within 5 minutes, all dark thoughts, all depression, all negative everything was just like wiped clean. And I thought, this is why people take antidepressants right here. And so the last 5 or 6 years has been a journey. And so the green vein is harmonizing, mood elevating, generally, very dose dependent. The red vein is generally sedating at high doses. A lot of variation in the red veins, though. And you have to do 3 to 6 grams, probably a minimum, to get the sedating effects. Pain relieving. There are opioids, and they're in the coffee family, but it's a palm tree like coffee where they use the leaves. And then there's a white vein variety. So red, depressive, not depressive, sedating, pain relieving, heroin withdrawal, opioid withdrawal, pain relief, as good as any narco drug. I have testimonials from face-to-face with people talking about it. And then the white vein is more stimulating, like outright stimulant, and nootropic is one word for. So I bought the white veined elephant and the white veined, and it's still a little buzzy for me, a few of the white vein stuff. So if you live here locally or you want to talk to me, I've tried now at least 20 kinds of Kratom, 3 whites, at least 8 greens, and about 6 or 7, 8 reds. And so I know what works for the really severe cases, the red veined, and there's more side effects. And then the red vein Meng Da, the reason why I'm mentioning that, though, is it's in this refuge kind of, you guys are just going, when the fuck is it going to give me the punchline? Is the red vein brings this sort of, in a smallish dose, it brings about a sort of a heightened awareness, even a little bit stimulating, and a little bit like kava, actually. And then within usually 2 or 3 hours later, it wears off, and then there's a nice, comfortably numb sedation. And then generally, when I do Meng Da or any of the Kratoms, the next day there's a strong desire to sleep more. And so I've been not using daily because it can be terribly addictive. Plus, it's hard to get off. There's withdrawal. So 1 to 3 grams at a time, and generally 1, maybe 3 doses a day at the most. So refuge. Why does Craig use it? Because the soup of consciousness, if you will. Oh, this is a great way to end on the screen. We'll do a whiteboard to end. This is just lovely. Okay, clear. So we'll say I'm going to make myself green, and we'll say this is Craig. Here's Craig. Oh shit, we don't want to be in yellow. Be in black. There's Craig. And we'll say just Craig. And then there's all these other, are there any stamps you can do for this? Let's do little hearts. That'd be fun. So there's all these other consciousnesses, and we'll do them as hearts. So there's Craig and this, and you, whoever you are watching, and there's this soup of consciousness. And guess what, folks? The feelings in our heart travel at the speed of light and travel out across the earth in less than in microseconds and seconds. And if you don't believe me, read The Secret Life of Plants, and read a few books about this. This is my direct experience too. So you're the soup of consciousness. Well, guess what's going on in consciousness, though? So let's draw something ugly. Let's do something like brown. So there's all these negative entities out, and just draw them as these horrendous looking lines. And Craig's in this soup of consciousness right now. That's the stew, if you will. Let's draw some stars. And there's some stars, some good, literally good people out there. Lots of love and hearts and stars. And then there's some people, we'll just call them the X Factor. They could go either way. And then we need to do like the really bad people. Let's do black. Black. And What should they be? Ooh, a little black dot. How's that? Yes. And these are the ones that are brainwashed, we'll just say. They're under the spell, and they're under the spell. And so here we find ourselves here on the whiteboard. Let's save that. That's pretty cool. So the refuge is in myself, and it's always and already here. So the punchline is every practice of every tradition is meant to bring us back to the present moment, literally and figuratively. Everything is meant. So Craig is floating in this, you're floating in it. We're transmitting feelings, thoughts, we're receiving others. It's way more porous than we thought. What we think of ourselves as a more of an identity of consciousness that we've agreed is here, and the ego sort of enforces, like, put food in this mouth versus over there. Literally that happens to people when they're in a state of samadhi in India. You can read about it. Samadhi is spelled S-A-M-A-D-H-I, and it's a various state of the disappearance of the self and other phenomena. Like when I've been talking here, there's no me talking to a screen. There's just a happening. And now I'm back to noticing, oh, there's me sitting over here and the screen over there, and you're watching, and I'm separate from you. And so refuge, then the Adyashanti story to finish this is how do you get back to the present moment? How do you get back to what's always and already here? If this thing is going crazy and there's all these layers of fears and conditionings, false belief systems, facades we put out there, trauma armoring, addictions, what other layers do we got? You know, just layers upon layers over the original identity of what we are. No, we're not born in sin. We're born perfect, and we're layered upon so we can be easily manipulated and used for money and power. And that's what people are waking up from. Thank God. So the cleanse makes you clear. So I just had a silent retreat. I am going to end now. And it's silent. Remember the silent digression? Now it's all in your consciousness, and the story is going to complete. He's in the silent retreat, and he hears this chanting, and he's like, what the F? That's not fair. Somebody's chanting, and I have to be silent. You know, it's kind of he was a young man. Something I would think. So something I would do too. He decides to leave his bedroom, which is sort of forbidden, and he walks down the hall. And he sees there's a light. It's a big Zen retreat. And he walks down this hall. Imagine walking down a hall, and it's kind of barely lit, and there's this light coming out of this barely open door at the end of the hall. And he hears the chanting coming from there. And it's the big teacher. And he's chanting, he's getting up, chanting over the Heart Sutra. If you know the Heart Sutra, I won't go into it now. But basically it's a form. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. And they're singing in another language, of course. So he's chanting this, and he's prostrating his head right on the book, coming down on it, and then standing up, and his tears are pouring out of his eyes. He's completely unaware of just spying on him. And he's found his refuge. There's the punchline. He's chanting, and this beatific, sublime energy comes through him. It happens to me when I do kirtan, when I do yoga, when I have a moment with another human being. I can have a song, and there's a few songs right now. I mentioned one in last night's video blog, and he's just tears start pouring out my eyes. And that's the gratitude of the frog story. Grace is running my life. And I have this relationship with Grace now, and you do too. But we all shit on our relationship with Grace because the little me wants its agenda, and we're never going to be free, folks. Here's the last pointer of the night. So the refuge is, how do we slow this mind down enough? You cleanse and get the garbage out of the system. You do some exercise and yoga to tire yourself out enough so you can slow down enough to be here. You don't take stimulants. The worst thing you can do is take a stimulant and then meditate. You're better off meditating and then doing a stimulant, unless you have a really slow mind and you want to speed it up. But it's already hard enough to put the thing on a leash and be nice to it when it's running around too fast already. So the refuge is now, and you slow yourself down by studying the practices that do so. Being intimate with another can slow us down. Eye gazing, touch, making love, being in the garden. It doesn't have to be a mystical thing like yoga. Being in the garden can slow us down. Definitely getting your bare hands and feet on the earth is good. It could be a sporting activity that's more like Tai Chi, Qigong, where it's sort of flowy based. Yoga, breathing exercises, pranayama, focused meditations if you're really good at it. Like you can focus on a point, like I could focus on that Buddha up there, or the Rumi statement over there on that. So I hope you hung in there tonight. I did no way did I plan on talking this long, but sometimes I get rolling and then the spirit just has a lot to say for you guys. So thanks for hanging in there. Day 4. And you might be able to tell by my tone of voice, much more feeling solid in my being today. A few loose ends on a few relationships kind of closed up beautifully today. And feeling like this voice system on my new office is working out good. So conditionally in the external world, happy Craig, you know. And so it spills over a little bit. And thank you for watching and for making the world a better place. Health Alchemy Cleanse Daily Video 4-day. Craig sign off.